An igboman will never be the president of this country. Yes, an igboman will never be president of this country. I'm just joking. I'm sure you must have heard these statements emanate. At least I've seen it severally occur in my threads, coming to say an igboman will never be president of this country. But here's the gig. When I go through such comments and read which set of people that these comments come from, I see that they are mostly Muslims from the north or ethnic bigotic Yoruba indigenes. The question again we must ask ourselves: why can anybody in a country that they claim is one, in a country that they claim the unity is sacrosanct, in a country that they said Nigeria is indivisible? Now, the irony of it all is that this same set of people that you say should not and will not be president of this country are the same people who said they want to leave Nigeria, but you fought them to remain in Nigeria. It's a paradox that I cannot put my head around. I cannot wrap my head around it. So, another question we'll ask ourselves is, why? Why do you believe that the Igbos cannot be president of this country? And if they cannot be president of this country, why must they not go? They have to be in this country so that you can rule them, but they can't rule you. Another worry too. An Igbo man, one of the three major tribes of this country, cannot rule this country. Then, what is the fate of the Urobo man, the Idoma man, the Jarawa man, the Anaguta man, the Bachama man, or even the lesser minority Christians in the north? You see, the biggest question to ask here is that, why is this sentiment persisting? That is simple. A certain narrative in this country must be sustained. And what are those narratives? The narratives that the north is more populated, that Muslims are more populated, that it will only take the will and prerogative of the north before anybody from the south can become a president, particularly south, south, and southeast. Yes, the situation we find, the Igbos find themselves, are not even made easier because of the Igbos themselves. Yes, I said so. Unfortunately, the Igbos are not political masters that understand the ability of tag teaming, that's working with others. But we are not here to talk about the lapses of the Igbo man in politics. We are talking about the deliberate persistence of a certain group of people to ensure that an Igbo man will not be president of this country. If you look at the tribunal judgment, the way it was delivered, you could almost touch and feel the sense of anger that an Igbo man is daring to be president of this country. Well, I'm not doing what I'm doing because I have any prior disposition for the Igbos. Like I said, Igbo people might then get their own. But what it is what it is. We cannot shy away from this. No matter how we paint it, there is a deliberate ploy by a certain group of the people in this country that an Igbo man will not be president. So what is it? The narrative is that if an Igbo man comes in as president, it changes everything. If an Igbo man comes in, it changes everything. It changes the narrative that without the Hausa man or without the Northerners, you cannot be president of this country. Because for a long time since independence, they will tell you that unless the Northern, if it were not for the concession of the North for Obasanjo to be president, Obasanjo would not have been president. So this ugly romance between the Yorubas and the North, that power must rotate between them, they even come forth to flaunt it on our face and say it is Yoruba turn. Whose turn was it before? Fulani. Now it's Yoruba turn. After Yoruba, whose turn is it? We have to sit down and tell ourselves, where was it shared that it has to be turn by turn? Now one shop where they sell provision for near my town, near my area, be that turn by turn. So where was it sat down and was discussed that it has to be this turn, this person's turn, this person's turn. Now it's Yoruba's turn. Whose turn is it next? You see, if we must get this country right, we must tell ourselves the truth. The reason why they don't want Peter Obi, an Igbo man, to be president is even evident in what Peter Obi is saying. From consumption to production. As simple as that statement is, it's pregnant. Because when a country begins to think about producing what it needs, then the unwritten subservience of African nations to their colonial masters is destroyed. When you begin to think of how to produce what you need, then your dependence on Europe for its aids, so-called aids, is gone. And when you don't depend on Europe, then your neo-colonialism status is also destroyed. Europe has to have Africa under their beck and call. But when they become self-sufficient, that status is destroyed. And therefore, people like Peter Obi will not want to be, they will not want Peter Obi to be president. We have borrowed ourselves to a status whereby our debt profile is staggering. We have borrowed and borrowed such that our children yet unborn, our children yet unborn, are going to pay debts and still remain some for their own children to even pay. And where will the burden of wealth come from? The same South that you said will not be president. While they eat their goals, while they dig their goals and mine their goals from themselves, they depend on the wealth of the South to pay off this debt that they borrow. Look, if today Nigeria splits, the debt we are owing, who will pay? Is it the North that splits away from Nigeria or the South that splits away from Nigeria? Certainly, the North has nothing to pay the huge sums of debt. We must sit down and talk. What is happening right now are just antecedents or precedents to what is about to happen. Let it be known that the crisis ahead was not sought for by those you are persecuting now, was not sought for. But even the goat that the lion chases, if it chases the wall, it turns around and fight back. It's a simple logic. It's a simple animal kingdom logic that I've learned. What you are doing right now will definitely come back. And the cataclysm emanate from this will be nobody's fault. It will just be a natural order, a natural reciprocity of people that you have pushed to the wall. Be in a country whereby a people chose a leader, and then you bend their hand, you twist them, you ask them to go to court, and when they go to court, the same court that is supposed to be the hope of the common man, the last hope of the common man, backs and screams at the petitioner saying that, why did you come to court? There's a limit to which all these nonsenses will go. We are waiting for the Supreme Court. Let's see what they will talk. Whether they will uphold this shenanigan and still call us a country. If Igbos are not part of this country, let them go.